Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Creating a New World. My name is Bill Hunsaker, and I'm your host. I am the state chair for the 12 Visions Party in New Jersey. Let me introduce my co-host. He is Bob McCaffrey, and he is the first vice chair for the 12 Visions Party in New Jersey. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bill. Hi, everybody. Welcome.
What is the 12 Visions world? This show is about the 12 Visions world, a world of freedom, wealth, health, and peace. Author and entrepreneur Mark Hamilton thought about what a world without initiatory force would be like. He chose to write the result in the form of 12 visions. Here they are. Become the person you were meant to be. Live the life you were meant to live. Feel extraordinary. Stop aging. Get the job of your dreams. Start the company you always wanted. Embrace the lover of your fantasies. Diet down to the body you always envied. Become a genius. Surround yourself with geniuses. Ride a prosperity wave that will make you a millionaire. Enjoy nearly perfect physical and mental health. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Unfortunately, it does not exist except as an idea. On this episode, we will look at Vision 2, Live the Life You Were Meant to Live. In the 12 Visions world, you will live the life you were meant to live and match your livelihood to your deepest emotional root, the person you were meant to be. Once you do that, you will remove the burden of earning a living and enjoy exhilaration every day as you find downstream focus. You will move from being a value producer to a value creator. Okay, Bob, why don't you start reading the beginning of Vision 2?
Sure. I'd be happy to. Vision 2, living the life you were meant to live. This is your week, Saturday through Friday. And therein lies the secret of life. I am going to unlock that secret today that has eluded man since the beginning of time. Mankind has searched for missing something more in his life since the beginning of human consciousness. His restless quest for something more is responsible for the religions, mythology, and spiritual paths. What he is searching for is harmony with himself, the world around him, and with the universe. Harmony he knows he does not have now. The endless search travels through generation after generation, without the answer ever being found. When you do find the secret of consciousness, conscious life, you are filled with the feeling that becomes everlasting and omnipresent. It does not come and go, wax and wane. It just fills and fulfills you. I know because I have found it. Through my second vision, the closest I can come to explaining that feeling is growing exhilaration. Growing exhilaration. But it's much more than that. Here's what it really is. You discover harmony with the world around you, with the universe, and with yourself. Every man and woman's life long searches for something more, comes to completion, for he or she has found it. Before I uncover humanity's most sought-after secret to end the great secret that leads people in many frustrating directions, first realize that by not knowing the secret, not knowing harmony with ourselves and with the universe, well, that means we are living without harmony. We are living a contradiction. and we are, almost everyone is. In fact, that is why we have religions, none of which get to the answer. They exist because of the elusive search for something more, for harmony with the world around us, with the universe, and with ourselves. You will discover what the contradiction is upon discovering the secret. But before we do that, let me describe the manifestation of the contradiction almost everyone has endured.
Thank you, Bob. Let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, to me, this is what I've been doing for most of my life, is searching for the. I've always thought there should be something more than just going out and getting a job and raising a family, even though that's great. But a job so you can do that. A job that you, for most people, it's something that you don't like. You just want to, you just do it so that you can enjoy the rest of your life. To me, finding the answer to this has been one of the greatest experiences in my life.
Yeah, I agree. I've been searching for a lot of things myself. Fortunately for me, the job wasn't my issue. Fortunately, I got into a job that I got a lot of satisfaction out of. So in doing my job, that wasn't a problem. But I always had the feeling and always wanted something more. I wanted more money and more things in my life, and even with a job that I was happy with, I just never seemed to be able to get the things that I wanted to get.
Thank you, Bob. We'll move on to the next section, the contradiction. To live, the act of self-reliant living, requires certain responsibilities. Those responsibilities require energy and effort. And what does that energy and effort get you, besides a life of stagnation? To describe this properly, I will jump into a real-life example. My friend is a pilot who flies all over the world. He does a good job for his company. He does a good job as a husband and provider. And he does a good job raising his daughter. He puts a lot of effort and energy into his life. 7 years ago, when I met him, to the present, and 10 years into the future, my friend was and always will be a good worker, husband, and father. He will always fly airplanes. And that's an admirable, even a glamorous livelihood. But after I read a special issue of Business Week that predicted super life-preserving technologies in the 21st century, I talked to my friend about those very real possibilities of immortality around the corner. I guess I half expected his reaction when he honestly answered that he would not want to live for. That answer was the litmus test for living a contradiction. For when one achieves harmony with oneself, with the world around him, and with the universe, as we suppose we do in heaven, then he or she will honestly want to live forever, just as we suppose we do in heaven. As I said, my friend puts a lot of energy and effort into his responsibilities for self-reliant living. But those responsibilities do not go anywhere. 7 years ago, flying planes. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, flying planes, just as his father. If one is putting out energy and effort, and those responsibilities are not going anywhere significant, then doing those responsibilities is a burden. Now, that's not to say that life's not worth living. Let's make that clear right now. Life has very nice, enjoyable experiences that can make one very happy. For example, finding and doing well in an admirable career, falling in love and getting married, having children and raising a family, buying that dream home, perhaps traveling and seeing the world in retirement. Those are all major experiences of happiness. But those wonderful experiences do not remove the subtle but persistent burden beneath it all. As one puts forth energy and effort, yet those responsibilities do not go anywhere. The burden is always there. Those wonderful experiences of life mask the burden. The ordinary person does not want to live forever, for when the wonderful experiences run out, living forever with the burden would become torture. And that's why we do not have biological immortality today. Deep down, people do not want it. Now we must uncover the secret for eternally happy conscious life, a secret buried deep within the universe. I just want to say that honestly, that's the kind of life I'm living right now, although I'm trying to change it. I am working at a job that I don't particularly like and just earning a living, and it is a burden. And I've done things in the past, you know, to mask the burden, watch TV, do other things that just, you know, distract me from the fact that I'm working in a job that I don't particularly like. How about you, Bob?
Well, I've enjoyed the job and the type of work that I've been doing, like I said, for a major part of my life and my career. However, the last few years, because of the way things are going in the company and the owners of the company are controlling the company, I'm not very happy about what's going on in our plant and in our company. And, you know, I'm looking forward to sometime in the not too distant future when I'll have the freedom to do just the things I want to do and not have to worry about going to work for somebody else.
Great. Why don't you pick up the reading on page 47?
Okay.
Become the creator.
Right. Okay, coming back down to earth, to be in harmony with the secret for eternal happiness, to be filled with everlasting exhilaration, you must become the creator, which means creating value that never existed before. And I am going to show you how to do that. Before I do that, however, let me point out that the contradiction we almost all live with today, that is, we are value producers, like my friend who flies planes. He is producing value when he goes to work. But 10, 20, 30 years from now, he will be producing the same values. Those values will not build and grow as value creation does. Therefore, his life underneath is a burden. Human consciousness was not designed to be stagnant, which causes a living contradiction. Human consciousness was designed to be always growing, expanding, and exhilarated. Therefore, we must leap from value producers to value creators to end the stagnation and the burden of life. And when we do that, we will honestly want to live forever. Now I can tell you not only how to do that, but how to do it practically. The amazing thing is, you do not have to be a Bill Gates or a Ray Kroc to do this. Anyone can do this. You may ask yourself, how can I create new values for the world that have never been built? Actually, being a creator is better described this way. You will go on a vector or value creation that forever grows to the next level and the next, like a puzzle picture that has never been seen before. Any comments, Bill?
Yeah, this is what I'm trying to do with this show, is create something new, create a value that will help people and will help everyone and help us all create a new world. How about you, Bob?
That's why I'm here also, and I'm here supporting you and having that happen. And it will happen. We just have to, hang in there and keep at it. And as they said in the movie, The Field of Dreams, you build a field and they will come. We're building this 12 Visions world, and the people will come to it.
Okay, did you want to continue reading, or I'll be glad to pick up there if you want to. Okay. Human consciousness is designed to build those ever-growing creative puzzles to new levels of knowledge, which is called neothink. Your mind is already designed to be the creator. Every mind, every person has the mental faculty to be a value creator. Once we know that, then knowing the key to being a value creator is not so difficult. I call it downstream focus. Almost all people, when they leave work at the end of the workday, do not like to think about it until they have to clock in again. Very rarely a person is drawn back to his work in the evenings and on weekends, not because it is a duty, but because his mind and heart, his focus, is drawn to it. For most, to be focused on work in the evenings is an upstream battle. But for that rare person, his focus on work is a downstream flow. If any person is focused all day and drawn back in the evenings and on weekends to a particular interest, his natural mental faculty will eventually take him on a vector of open-ended value creation called neothink. How do we capture downstream focus? Every person has a deepest motivational root inside that would bring him downstream focus. In children, we can spot those deepest motivational roots. I can see them in my 2-year-old son and 6-year-old daughter. My son is fascinated with the world around him in the way a scientist or perhaps an engineer would be. For instance, if we go to play miniature golf and we come upon one of those 2-tier holes where the ball goes in a hole and disappears as it travels down a PVC pipe to the lower tier, my 2-year-old son will be transfixed with that hole for a long time, going up and down between the two levels, examining the hole and the ball's journey through it. His deepest motivational root, his Friday night essence, seems to gravitate toward physics, engineering. My 6-year-old daughter has a strong trait I've picked up on. Ever since she was a year old, she would not leave a project until she finished it. Whereas most children her age or much older could not focus their attention that long on something, my daughter would focus for hours, if needed, until she finished the project. She displays mental endurance, which is a sign of a deep thinker, writer. Her deepest motivational root, her Friday night essence, points toward some form of a deep thinker and writer. That deepest motivational root, easily spotted from a young age, is the person you were meant to be. Living as that person you were meant to be, you would enjoy every day all your life, downstream focus, which would take you on to a vector of being the creator. Any comments on that, Bob?
No, I don't have any.
Okay. For me, this is where, finding as we discussed somewhat in the first episode, becoming the person you were meant to be is finding your deepest motivational root, the thing that you enjoy doing above everything else, and that's what you will find in the 12 Visions world. If you can't find it on your own, there will be entrepreneurs who will have a business helping you find what your deepest motivational root is. Okay.
You want me to pick it up from there?
Let me look at something real quick.
Sure.
Take a second. Yes, go ahead and pick it up from there, and if you want, go ahead and read through the end.
Okay. Become the person you were meant to be. Inner Circle Visions. As adults, we cannot so easily identify our deepest motivational roots, the person we were meant to be. The reason the person we were meant to become, is so elusive to adults is because we have been preoccupied with making a living. We have no ideas of what we passed over and filed away in the impractical section of our minds. We have no idea of just how practical or powerful our deepest motivational roots would have been had we pursued it. My employee, Dave, whom you read about in Vision 1, put together a seminar that lets people discover the person they were meant to be. That is, they discover the deepest motivational roots that would bring them downstream focus. The seminar then goes through a series of exercises that send his attendants along the path the attendees, along the path that they were meant to travel. They travel just a little at first. Before long, however, they can make their living doing what they were meant to do in life, which means they discover downstream focus and go on to become the creator. This is the everyday person ambition in life. To match your livelihood to your deepest motivational root is your life ambition. To become the creator and experience the secret for eternal happiness is done through self-discovery, discovering the person you were meant to be. Once you pursue the path, you suddenly possess downstream focus. In time, your mind will be building puzzles of new knowledge. Through there, you will become the creator. Remember, pay attention to a few things. Notice a particular subject you tend to be drawn to. Say something you consistently like to read about. Notice any particular interest besides passive entertainment or active sports that you tend to do in the evenings and weekends. And think back across your life to any interests that you consistently attracted to you. Being on your lookout for these things that seem to motivate you can help give you some clues to your deepest motivational roots. In time, you will make the full self-discovery. Go back to Vision 1 to make the self-discovery. Once you make the self-discovery, set up a mini-day schedule, Vision 5, in the evenings and on the weekends, to start taking a few small steps along the path you were meant to travel. To your pleasant surprise, downstream focus will kick in, and your journey along the path will take on a life of its own. Before long, your deepest motivational roots will take over and grow into your livelihood. You will go on to become the value creator. By being on the lookout for these deepest motivational roots, you will discover it is the next few weeks or less. Also, the Vision's climax gives you a step-by-step system to do all this without leaving the company you are now working for. Now let's summarize what we have uncovered today. We have uncovered the exclusive secret for eternal happiness that puts us in harmony with the universe, with the world around us, and with ourselves. Again, we must leap from the value producer to the value creator. 2. In the process, we have uncovered the contradiction almost everyone lives with. Again, we are value producers, not value creators, which causes our lives underneath all the wonderful experiences to be a burden. Most of us could not live that way forever. We have uncovered how to make the leap from the value producer to the value creator. We must make the self-discovery of our deepest motivational root, which would bring us downstream focus, which is all that is needed for our minds to switch in time to puzzle building neothink as we become the creator. In short, I have shown you how the individual gets out of today's suppressed civilization. In today's suppressed and limited civilization, to live for eternity would be intolerable. When you experience tomorrow's limitless civilization, when you jump from the value producer to the value creator, to die for eternity becomes intolerable.
That's good, Bob. Thank you.
Right.
Yes, this is the 12 Visions world in essence. This is living a life of exhilaration, of enjoying every day, of looking forward to what you will discover tomorrow as you continue down a path of creation and just joy and fun.
Yeah. One of the things that I discovered and that I'm not so happy about in the position that I have today is for a long time I was kind of the creator in the area that I was working. I worked for myself. Now the game has changed and the rules have changed where everybody else wants to control, and I no longer have total freedom to do some of the things that I did the way that I would like to do them. And that creates a lot of upheaval and unhappiness in what I do, and makes it difficult for me to just continue doing what I do.
Thank you, Bob. Next, we'll talk about how to create the 12 Visions world, but first we're going to play a little game I like to call Where's the Force? I'll mention some aspect of our world and challenge my co-host to tell us what initiatory force is involved. Today's topic is Social Security. Bob, where's the force?
The government has control and limits what you have and what you're able to get in your Social Security.
Yes, the government has control, and basically you're forced to contribute whether you want to or not.
Right.
And also, in reality, what you contribute today is given to people who are retired today. So therefore, you're not really building a retirement for yourself. You're supporting the people who are already retired, whether you want to or not.
Right.
And therefore, you don't have a choice whether you want to do it or not. And the people who are retired don't have a choice either, because they have to accept whatever the government decides to give them.
Right, and part of the forces and what's created the problem is in the earlier years when Social Security was started, there was an excess of money there, and the government decided, oh, we can put this to better use by sending some of this money to another area and supporting this requirement or that requirement, whatever it might be. And that's why Social Security is limited in the funds that they have available today.
Yep. I mean, in short, it's not voluntary. Everyone has to do it whether they want to or not. And it's not even run the way it was originally created to run.
Right.
So therefore, there's initiatory force all the way through it.
Right.
Thank you, Bob. We'll move on to the next section. The 12 Visions movement is a group of like-minded individuals with one goal: to create the 12 Visions world. This movement is being organized by the 12 Visions Party. Here is the purpose of the 12 Visions Party. The TVP has one purpose: to bring about an initiatory, force-free, protection-only, service-based government via the Prime Law Amendment and protection-only budget, forever ending the age-old power-based government and its virulent, force-backed rule of man, forever depoliticizing America, and eventually the entire world, thus setting free the geniuses of society, launching the wealth of mankind as described in the TVP platform. Here's the process by which the 12 Visions Party will accomplish this purpose. 1. The presidential election. With your help, the 12 Visions president and vice president are elected. The TVP president shall submit to Congress the protection-only budget and the prime law amendment to the U.S. Constitution, as described in the national platform. 2. The Great Replacement Program. With your help, 12 Visions candidates for Congress and Senate are elected. The Congress shall pass the protection-only budget, i.e. the prime law budget in its entirety, and the prime law amendment to the U.S. Constitution, as described in the national platform, to be ratified by the states. 3. The Great Displacement Program. The TVP president, vice president, and cabinet heads, with the support from TVP members of Congress, shall orchestrate the dismantling of the federal bureaucracy that has nothing to do with protection of its citizens, coordinate the displacement of its resources, including the great sale of government assets that have nothing to do with protection, to the private sector, government assets including federal land that serve not the prime law of protection. Excuse me. The executive branch shall shrink its size to one purpose, the protection of its citizens as defined by the prime law. Revenues from the great sale shall pay off Social Security obligations with interest and pay down the national debt. 4. The new governing dimension. The TVP president and vice president, TVP cabinet heads, TVP members of Congress shall oversee the transition into the new governing dimension of no initiatory force as described in the platform. The 12 Visions government operating under the prime law shall leap from a destructive power basis to a productive service basis, from a destructive ruling class to a productive protection service as described in the platform. 5. The end of rule of man. Meanwhile, in the states, 12 Visions governors and 12 Visions state legislatures that are elected with your help will be shrinking state governments to one purpose, protection of its citizens as defined by the prime law. The 12 Visions state legislatures will ratify the prime law amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which make initiatory force illegal. All governments, from the federal government down to your local town or city government, will have to provide protection services that citizens will voluntarily pay for, and citizens will be able to choose from competing protection services. In each episode, we'll discuss different parts of this process. On this episode, we will discuss the protection-only budget. The protection-only budget includes services that protect the individual from initiatory force. Excuse me, Bob. Basically, initiatory force, by definition, can only be done by someone else to you. You cannot initiate force on yourself, because initiatory force involves lack of consent. In other words, if you consent to someone doing something, then they're not committing initiatory force. You have any comments on that, Bob?
No.
Okay.
Not at this point.
Okay. So the protection-only budget will not include such things as bureaucratic regulations that that protect you from, deciding to. In other words, won't include the government telling you what you can do with your life, what you choose to eat, drink, or whatever. All it will do will be to keep people from deceiving you and committing fraud against you in in the products and services that they provide to you. So agencies such as OSHA and the Food and Drug Administration will no longer be funded because they try to protect you, you know, and tell you what you can choose rather than letting you choose yourself and protect you from people who are deceiving you and trying to you know, to defraud you or steal something from you. But other things such as police, and until the rest of the world is depoliticized, armed forces to protect us from people in other countries who might decide to attack us will still be funded initially by taxes, and then slowly as the government's converted to a service providing business by voluntary payments from people who want those services. So that should reduce the federal budget by at least half, because a lot of the money goes to those bureaucracies, and also goes to things such as welfare. What will happen is that entrepreneurs will have businesses that help people find the person they were meant to be and help them start living the life they were meant to live, and they won't need welfare anymore. Also, the federal government will stop the things like the war on drugs, stop, you know, trying to prevent people from purchasing something they want, but everyone will be responsible for their behavior, and if they commit initiatory force against someone else, they'll be responsible for that. But the bottom line is that, you know, the 12 Visions president and vice president, along with their cabinet, will look at the federal budget and decide what is for protection of the individual and what is not, and they will remove everything that is not.
Yes, and what the people will have to realize and wake up to the fact that, yes, they're going to have the freedom to make choices and do the things that they want to do, but they have to keep in mind and bear in mind that those choices have consequences. And if they don't make the right choices and they wind up harming someone else in the process, the consequences are that they will be responsible for whatever damage they may have caused, and they will, in one way or another, have to pay for it.
Yep. Not only will you have freedom to choose, you will also have the responsibility for the choices that you make.
Yes. And that also applies to the decisions we make for ourselves. I mean, if we make a decision to use a drug or something that is not good for us, well, then we have to be aware that we're going to pay the consequences in poor health later on in life.
Yep. And you know, there will be and also the government will get out of regulating education, telling us, you know, what our kids can and cannot learn, and governments all the way down to your local town government will be getting out of that. There won't be any more public schools. There'll be all schools will be private schools, and you'll be able to choose the school you want based on what you want your children to learn and what you can afford for your child.
Right, and our children will benefit from that in the long run, because all these educational tools or facilities will be bidding for our attention in order for us to send our children there, and we'll get the children will receive a better education because of it.
And costs will go down.
Yes.
Part of the reason why education costs so much, and you see the cost of education in the property taxes you have to pay, or the high rent you have to pay if you're paying rent rather than being a homeowner, because basically the public schools have a monopoly on providing education, and therefore when you have a monopoly, prices go up, and in most cases the quality of the product goes down. So you end up getting less and pay more for it when there's a monopoly. And also, most of the time, whoever can influence the school board decides what kind of education children will get.
Right. And what we see is in some cases, certain areas and certain children, they want to keep them as their workers and want to keep them down. So the education is not as good as it should be. And therefore, the children are not learning what they are or what they should learn. And then in the long run, what they wind up doing is working menial jobs for minimum wage. And that's very unfortunate.
Because they don't learn to follow that deep motivational route. They're taught to you got to go out and get a job and and earn a living, rather than go out and pursue what you enjoy. And if you do that, the people who've done that have prospered and enjoyed their life much more than people that just go out and try to earn a living.
Yes.
And once 12 Vision's governors are elected in the states, they will be doing the same thing. They will be, presenting a protection-only budget to the state legislatures and reducing the costs of government there and removing everything that is not for protection of the individual, and and slowly converting state governments to protection service providing businesses that people pay for voluntarily. And the same thing will happen down at the city and town level also, until every level of government is a government that provides a protection service that people pay for willingly, and other people can create their own businesses providing protection services and compete with the government. So the protection-only budget will lead to the elimination of initiatory force in government at all levels.
Right.
Okay, we'll move on to the next section, which is how you can help. The 12 Visions movement is growing across the country and the world, and more people are getting involved. Here are ways you can help. Tell your family, your friends, and neighbors about the 12 Visions movement, and if you see 12 Visions candidates, vote for them. Support the 12 Visions movement by contributing money or volunteering to help. And you can also become involved with the organizing and planning by joining the 12 Visions Party in your state. And all these ways you can help move the 12 Visions movement forward and create the 12 Visions world. That's our show for tonight. I want to thank you, Bob, for coming on.
I have one thing there, Bill.
Yes, absolutely. Go right ahead.
As far as what can we do to help? The starting point, I think, is for us to take a deep look inside ourselves and look to see what we want out of our lives and where we would like to see our lives go. And then once we make a decision, to get out there and participate in the systems, if it whatever it may be, and hopefully it'll be the way of the 12 Visions Party. But get out there and become active and do something to help move the party forward. Because just for example, you and I alone together, which is what we have on this program tonight, we alone will not get the job done. But yes, we are the starting point. And if we can get other people to look at our ideas and the possibilities and see the possibilities that they could have for themselves, I'm sure this organization will grow, and before you know it, we'll have hundreds of thousands of people involved.
Yes, we will. Thank you, Bob. Yes, once you start looking at yourself and realizing that you want more, and realizing that that by creating the 12 Visions world, you can have more.
Mm-hmm.
But staying with what we have now, you can only have less. It's possible to have more, but it's very difficult.
Right. And we keep losing more and more every year.
Yes, we do. So, once again, thank you, Bob. I want to mention that if you want to support this show, tell your friends and family and neighbors about it. Invite them to watch it with you, and talk about it with them. And if you have questions, feel free to send me an email at whunsicker@gmail.com. I'll be happy to answer any questions and let you know what we're doing to create the 12 Visions world. In the future, we will have ways that you can contribute money to support the show, because there are some costs involved in producing the show, and we would greatly appreciate that support, but we will be announcing that in future episodes. Once again, I want to say thank you, Bob, for coming on, and thank you, everyone, for watching this episode, and I wish everyone wealth, health, peace, love, and happiness.
And hopefully we'll see you all next week.
Yep. So long for now.